Carlton's horror season continues. They lost to North Melbourne by 11 points. Looked a lot worse. The scoreboard was very flattering for the Blues. And Michael Voss is probably now under the most scrutiny he's been in or under for his entire career. He's under the pump now, and he probably has the rest of the season to save his job and convince incoming CEO Graham Wright that he is the man to take the Blues forward, because at the moment they're 6-8, they're spluttering. They are not making the most of the players that they have and have had over the past, 4 years of his tenure.
Yeah.
And, booing at halftime, three-quarter time, the Blues fans are getting restless.
Yeah, you said you were there and there was quite a lot of
a smattering, I would say,
yeah. We said at the bye, they had a 4-week stretch coming up against Essendon, West Coast, North Melbourne and Port. And Port very much struggling. Probably the 4 worst teams in the league outside of Richmond. We said, or I said, and you guys somewhat agreed, that if the Blues don't go 4-0, very hard to see a future for Voss.
Yep.
They beat Essendon in that first game, but
wasn't convincing.
It was not convincing at all. It was 8 points, and if that game goes for 5 more minutes, they definitely don't win. West Coast they beat, and now they've just been pumped by North. And speaking of scoreboards flattering teams, I mean, at one point it was looking very likely that they were going to lose by 7 or 8 goals. This week is a massive game against Port. I don't see any way that they can continue with Michael Voss if Carlton do not walk away with 4 points. I'm not saying that they will. It's a Thursday night game. I'm not saying they're going to come out Friday morning and sack him. There's no way he's coaching the Carlton Football Club in 2026 if they do not win this game.
Really?
And even if
just this game?
Yeah. And even if they do, I still don't think it's a guarantee. But I just don't see how you can. The Blues, we're still, what are we through the season? 58, 60% of the way through the home and away season. The Carlton's over 3 games out of the 8 now. Like when you look at Gold Coast percentage.
Well, they got a game in hand as well.
They've got a game, exactly. So Gold Coast play Essendon, should be winning that, game in hand. They jump to 36 points. And then Carlton is two wins and 27% off the Bulldogs. So three wins. 3 wins off the Dogs. So you can say mathematically they're still alive. I don't see a world in where they can turn it around. I understand they did a couple of years ago, but I just can't see it happening this year. There's no part of Carlton's game that gives me pause for optimism to think they can turn this around. This is coming down the tracks. What is it? What should Carlton fans be holding on to as a sign of positivity, if there is one? Because I don't think there is.
Well, yeah, it's a really, really tough one. So if you look at their game style and then the numbers as we usually as we do at Champion Data, there's so many parts of the game where you go half the game's right, even better than right. Half the game is top 4 or 5 in the competition, but the execution part of the finishing part of that style is down the bottom. So to give you an example, they're number 1 for moving the ball from back 50 to forward 50. Huge on the premiership standards to be a really good team at being able to move the ball end to end. They're number 1, just going from the the blue back 50 to the red forward 50. Once they get in there, they're 13th for converting that entry into a score. Spoken about on the podcast previously. The entries that you can get from a back 50 entry should be the ones you are scoring from more often, because you're usually entering into a more empty forward 50 because you've sort of started from the ball for the back. 13th for that. Clearance efficiency, so just winning the clearances. So this year, they've got the 4th best clearance efficiency. So they're great at winning the clearance. Efficiency means that the disposal they're actually winning the clearance with is getting to a teammate and they're maintaining possession. So they're getting an actual clearance chain going, but they're the 3rd worst team at scoring from those effective clearances. 3rd best team at winning a forward half intercept. So how they set up, they get the ball forward. Teams struggle to go end to end against them because Carlton can win it back. 3rd best at winning that forward half intercept. 18th for turning that intercept into a score. 2nd for total time in forward half. So it's about 55 minutes per game that the ball's in Carlton's forward half, which is the 2nd highest of any team. 14th for scoring per 50 minutes in the forward 50. 3rd most kicks into the forward 50. 2nd worst score rate from the forward 50. So a lot of the numbers where you go, okay, what are we doing and how are we stacking up in terms of, are we getting the ball forward? Are we moving the ball well? Are we winning clearances? There's a whole lot of ticks. But then it's the end. It's the final part. Well, it's converting that into actual scoreboard points or scoreboard pressure where it just falls across the board. And that's 6 or 7 handpicked stats. There's a few other stats of where they're 1 and 2 in clearance differential, but just can't turn it into a score. Or
So, okay.
The number, just quick, the number that really stands out to me, well, not number, but just 100 points, kicking 100 points in a game. Last 20 games, Carlton has done it twice. That's against West Coast and North Melbourne. Twice in 20 games.
With two Coleman medalists.
There's not many teams that carry 2 Coleman medalists.
Yeah, and I understand they haven't, little underdone, both not playing always, but that's just, I don't understand how that can happen. And I know 100 points is such an arbitrary number that doesn't mean anything, but it kind of does, because it's sort of like, you don't lose games when you kick 100 points, but you don't get to 100 points.
So I'm looking at this, and all these stats that you sort of picked out, where they're good and then where they let down, obviously is that sort of that 50-metre arc and converting them into a score. So my question is it the list? Is it the army of small forwards, the medium forwards, the connection, the high half forwards, and the 2 Coleman medal winning players who have I guess been in and out and injured at different times? Or is it the coach? Is it the coaching about where we're putting the ball inside 50, how open we're keeping it, how we're defending? What is it, the list or is it the coach?
For me, it's both put together. You've got to coach to the list you have. I think he has one. Michael Voss has sort of one greatest, or even Carlton as a whole has one greatest strength. It's the contest. Keep it in contest. Keep it in contest. We don't want speed. We don't want to chase, a really high open transition game. So he sort of picked a team to sort of maximise those stats of winning contest. But it's come to a style now that game style needs to have, you need to have openness, you need to have that ability to sort of, as I said, that back 50 to forward 50, you need to be able to go to an open forward line and score. Seems like every time Carlton, watching it as a fan, if you watch it a lot on TV, a kick will come, you don't know, if you're not at the venue, you don't know what you're about to see forward of the ball. A lot of the times you see Carlton running off halfback or any other team watching halfback, and they'll start kicking the ball 45 or sideways, and you know there's going to be a leading player or someone on their own, that's why they're kicking in that direction. I watch Carlton do it and they kick it, and then the next thing you see on screen is a 1-on-1 or a 2-on-2, so they're not even getting players free ahead of the ball. To me, it's a concoction of both of them together, but it doesn't seem like you've got a great system ahead of the ball to create space, and there's just too many contests going from, all the way up the ground.
So let me ask you this. When coach's tenure comes into question and questions are asked about whether or not he may or may not be sacked this year, sooner, later, whatever it might be, would Carlton be worse off if they replaced Michael Voss this week?
No, not at all. I don't think so. I mean, I don't know how you can possibly say that. And I don't want to just jump all over Michael Voss, but we're now in year 9 of Michael Voss as a coach.
Including his time
5 years at Brisbane, 4 at Carlton.
Almost, yeah.
85 wins, 101 losses in the home and away season. And a couple of draws. That's a 45% win-loss record. It's not good.
Over a decent sample size.
Over almost a decade. I understand we don't even need to roll back 24 months, and at quarter time of that preliminary final against Brisbane, Carlton was the favourite to play in the grand final. So what's gone wrong in that space of time? I think the record is about 50-50 since then. I think there is a big part of it that is the players. The list, as Rowan Connolly's written before, Carlton's list just isn't that good. I'm not blaming Michael Voss and saying he has to cop all of it, but we understand that that's what happens in football. Like, the coach does have to cop a lot of the responsibility. Change needs to happen. It's 4 years now, and I think Carlton's history over the last 20 years has made them a little gun-shy as to going too quick on the coach sacking. But could that come back to bite them?
Could there be an irony in a club saying, well, we're done with the knee-jerk sackings of coaches.
We've done it 5 times.
But here's the guy that probably isn't going to take this list that has a 30-year-old Patrick Cripps, a 29-year-old Jacob Wiedering, a 29-year-old Harry Mackay, and a 29-year-old Charlie Curnow.
Because you will blink, we all will, as Carlton supporters, and Patrick Cripps will be 33.
Yeah, if he even lasts.
What happened?
I mean, he's been...
Well, even that, but you think, well, what happened? And you just don't have that much time. You never have as much time as you think. When you get a great young player coming into your side, you look at it with Sam Darcy at the Bulldogs. Before you know it, he'll be 30. And it's just like you don't have as much time as you think. And it's not to say Carlton have ruined these guys' primes, but to have two Coleman medalists, a 2-time Brownlow medalist, maybe a guy that is in consideration for one of the 3 best key defenders in the league. You have all these guys and a bunch of other talent around, and it's like, well,
What's it amounting to?
Yeah.
That's fair enough.
And I think at some point that it's got to fall back on the coach. And I think, as you've said, I think we've sort of pointed out various times, does Michael Voss have a plan B? Does he have another way to go or another? It just feels like this is what we do, and if we can't do it, we just hope that we can get back to doing it, and we hope it'll bring success. But it's not.
Even Carlton's clearance game is just not fruitful on the scoreboard for them, and that's what they pride themselves on.
Yeah, so since he's been there, number one clearance differential team, one of the better, scoring differential from clearances as well. They've scored 26 points per game from clearances, I think, in the last 8 weeks, which is their worst 8-week period under Michael Voss. So you take away, or you look at one of the greatest strengths that they had, and for 8 weeks now, it's at the worst point it's been under his tenure.